looking at the Module 3 study questions. There's difficult questions here. I mean, I hope you know that I know that they're difficult questions. Number one, why does Heidegger characterize human existence as a being towards death? It's a very big question. I don't really know how to approach that in sort of a non-circular way. I think that Heidegger says that human beings cannot really be free and cannot really sort of live in reality and live in the moment unless they accept the fact that they're going to die, and that they're finite beings. Right? That it's only against the horizon, Critchley says in his article, of our mortality. Unless we constantly think of that, we can't really live authentically, freely in the moment. We're living in some sort of dream world, I guess. So I suppose that what is important to me, at least, is that we are aware of the reality of our situation. Heidegger is saying that we have to understand that human existence is temporal. It's moving, and it's moving towards something, and that something is our own end. Eventually, there's no reason to think about it every moment of the day. There's no reason to be morbid about it, as Critchley says. But unless you accept that finitude, you can't really know yourself, and you can't really live authentically. Number two, what reasons does Landsberg provide for opposing Heidegger's view of death? Well, he very explicitly, this is a part of the excerpt I gave you was a brief, but I think key excerpt of a very long essay he wrote called The Experience of Death, which usually I read over 2 weeks with my students. We don't have time to do that. But I wanted to give you a taste of this opposition between Heidegger and Landsberg. Heidegger, like Wally Shawn says, if you really look at yourself in openness and honesty, what you see is a being heading towards its own end. And I think that what Landsberg is saying, that no, if you're really open and honest and clear-sighted about what you are, your own existence as a human person, if you look at yourself, what you see is a being that demands a self-realization and something transcendental, something beyond death. Something I've characterized as being beyond death. Being towards death is right out of Heidegger. It's English translation of the German, but whereas the being beyond death is my characterization of what Landsberg is getting at, saying if we really look at ourselves, what we see is a being that demands some sort of afterlife for self-realization, to become what it's always meant to be, something beyond death. And that is really the clue, I think, to number three, is odd and more congenial to Heidegger or Landsberg's view of death. You can believe whatever you want. It's a matter of interpretation. As long as you give reasons that are plausible, I would certainly accept any response. But to me, clearly, he's more congenial to Landsberg because of that idea in Ken's own that we demand a world which is which meets what we want. And that seems to be very close to what Landsberg is saying, is if you look at human nature, it demands a world, what is the fluent something of our will. I mean, the idea that we have these very deep hopes for ourselves, let's say, that can only be fulfilled in some sort of, again, transcendental way, some sort of form of being that transcends the earthly life that we know. I don't know if any of this makes any sense or is true. Oh, it does make sense. But I think clearly Auden is on the Landsberg side of things rather than the Heidegger side. Though, plausible reasons, you can think whatever you like.